Welcome back to Ignite the Fire, where we dive into messages from Flame Community Church.
Ah, yes.
And this week,
Yeah.
we are exploring a message from Elder Peter about seeing the invisible.
Mm. Yeah.
Ever feel like there's more to life than what we can see and touch?
It's a question that has resonated with people for centuries.
Right.
And it's really at the heart of what Peter was talking about,
Yeah.
drawing inspiration from Hebrews chapter 11,
Yeah.
often called the Hall of Fame of Faith.
Right.
Yeah.
He actually started off with a pretty funny story about waking up in the middle of the night, totally convinced his room was full of angels.
Oh, wow.
Turns out it was just his car stereo playing Christian music all night. But it made me think
Yeah.
sometimes our perceptions can really play tricks on us.
Yeah, what's fascinating here is that it also ties into the core idea of the message.
Right.
Even though we can't physically see angels,
Yeah.
the Bible tells us they are real and active in our lives. It's
Yeah.
like this whole other dimension they're interacting with, even if we don't always realize it.
And to really emphasize that point,
Yeah.
he had the entire congregation recite, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty together."
Wow.
He reminded everyone that this same declaration is happening in heaven right now based on Revelation chapter 4, verse 8.
Oh, wow.
It's like we're joining in with this cosmic chorus of praise that's been going on for eternity.
That repetition of holy, holy, holy is really significant.
Yeah.
It emphasizes God's absolute perfection and purity, a concept that's hard for us to fully grasp.
Yeah.
But it also reminds us that our worship here on earth connects us to something far greater than ourselves, a reality that exists beyond what we can see or even imagine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a powerful reminder that we live by faith, not by sight, as 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 7 tells us.
Mhm.
And that brought him to his definition of faith,
Yeah.
a firm belief and expectation that God will fulfill his promises.
Yes.
Not just hoping,
Right.
but truly believing.
And that's where the story of Noah comes in a classic example of faith in action.
Right.
Imagine being told by God to build a massive ark
Right.
because a world-ending flood is coming.
Yeah.
Talk about trusting in something you can't see.
Can you imagine working on a boat that big for years and all you have is this promise from God?
Yeah. And what's incredible is that he even compared the ark's size to walking from the church to the market, about 140 meters.
Wow.
Yeah.
It really makes you think about what it means to have faith like that and how it can apply to our lives today.
Right.
And while the Bible doesn't say exactly how long it took Noah to build the ark,
Right.
some scholars estimate it was between 50 and 100 years.
Wow.
So that's a lifetime dedicated to this seemingly impossible task,
Yeah.
all based on God's word.
It really puts things into perspective.
A lifetime.
Makes you wonder what could be our own acts of faith, even if they seem ordinary at first glance.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a powerful question for all of us to consider.
And to help us delve deeper into that, he went on to outline 3 key principles we can learn from the heroes of faith.
Okay.
The first is trusting God's promises, just like Noah did.
And he used the example of Abraham, who was promised descendants as numerous as the stars,
Yes.
even though he and his wife Sarah were way past the age of having children.
Right.
That's a powerful story found in Genesis chapter 15 about holding on to hope, even when it seems impossible.
Absolutely. And it took decades for that promise to be fulfilled.
Right.
Abraham had to hold on to that promise through years of waiting and uncertainty.
Yeah.
That's a testament to the enduring nature of God's promises. They don't have an expiration date.
It's not just stories from thousands of years ago.
Right.
He reminded us of promises like the one found in Isaiah chapter 54, verse 10. My unfailing love for you will not be shaken, nor my covenant of peace be removed.
Wow.
That's such a reassuring message for us today, knowing that God's love is constant, even when our circumstances feel chaotic.
Definitely. And moving on to the second principle, he highlighted the importance of looking ahead to the eternal reward.
Right.
He used the powerful example of Moses, who chose to side with the Israelites over the treasures of Egypt.
Wow.
That story in Hebrews chapter 11, verses 25 and 26,
Okay.
really shows us that our choices have lasting consequences.
It's like Moses understood that the fleeting pleasures of sin were nothing compared to the eternal reward that awaited him with God.
Yeah,
It makes you think about what we prioritize in our own lives, doesn't it?
it definitely does.
And the third principle he touched on is living as strangers on earth.
Yeah.
This idea that as Christians, we shouldn't get too attached to worldly things
Yeah.
because our true citizenship is in heaven.
Right.
It's a powerful concept. And he referenced Hebrews chapter 11, verse 13 to illustrate it.
Right.
He even said something that really stopped me in my tracks.
Oh.
This is not the real life. The real life is what's going on in heaven right now.
That statement really challenges our perspective, doesn't it?
Hmm?
We tend to view our earthly life as the primary reality, but he's reminding us that the eternal realm is just as real, if not more so.
Right.
It makes you reevaluate what truly matters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really does make you stop and think.
It does. It really does make you stop and think. And building upon these principles, Peter offered some practical advice on how we can actually live like heroes of faith in our everyday lives.
Okay.
His first point was about running the race marked out for you.
He talked about how we each have a unique race to run with challenges and victories designed specifically for us by God.
Right.
It's not a one-size-fits-all approach to faith, but a personalized journey for each of us.
And just like a runner trains for a marathon, we need to prepare ourselves spiritually and mentally for the challenges we'll encounter.
Yeah.
He emphasized that it's not a sprint,
Right.
but a long-distance run.
Yeah.
There will be times when we stumble or feel like giving up, but the key is to keep moving forward, relying on God's strength to carry us through.
And that brings us to his second point,
Right.
which was about being holy and removing the handicap of sin. He shared this incredibly powerful quote from William Barclay.
Okay.
No man would seek to climb Mount Everest with a pantechnicon of lumber weighing him down.
Wow.
If we would travel far, we must travel light.
It's such a vivid image that really gets to the heart of the matter.
Yes.
Sin weighs us down,
Yeah.
holding us back from experiencing the fullness of God's plan for our lives.
Right.
We need to shed those burdens so we can move forward freely and experience true spiritual growth.
Absolutely. And Peter reminded us that we need Jesus' help to do that.
Yeah.
We can't overcome sin on our own strength.
Yeah.
But through his grace and power, we can break free from those things that are holding us back.
Right.
And finally, Peter urged us to fix our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. He emphasized that keeping our focus on Jesus, even when surrounded by distractions and challenges, is crucial for staying on track in our faith journey.
It's so easy to get caught up in the anxieties and worries of this world.
Right.
But when we focus on Jesus, we gain a new perspective
Yeah.
and find the strength to persevere.
It's all about shifting our focus from the visible to the invisible.
Right.
Trusting that God is working, even when we can't see it.
And to drive that point home, Peter concluded his message with a powerful call to action, drawing from the imagery of Hebrews chapter 12, verses 1 and 2.
He invited everyone to stand and really meditate on those verses, thinking about their own personal journeys and the examples of the heroes of faith who have gone before us. It was a powerful moment of reflection, prompting us all to consider how we can apply these principles to our own lives.
And he read those inspiring words from Hebrews. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of God.
What a powerful image that is this cloud of witnesses cheering us on as we run our own races.
Right.
It connects us to this incredible history of faith,
Yeah.
reminding us that we're not alone in this journey.
It's like we're all part of this massive relay race,
Right.
passing the baton of faith from one generation to the next.
Yeah.
And he ended by encouraging everyone to let those words really sink in, to reflect on their own lives and ask themselves some important questions.
Yes, he challenged everyone to consider,
Yeah.
what's hindering me from running my race with perseverance?
Right.
What sin am I holding on to that's tripping me up?
Yeah.
And am I truly fixing my eyes on Jesus, keeping him at the center of my thoughts and actions?
Those are such powerful questions for all of us to consider.
Right.
It's a call to examine our hearts and see if we're truly living out the principles of faith that he outlined.
It's not about striving for perfection or comparing ourselves to others, but about allowing God to transform us from the inside out, empowering us to live lives that reflect his love and grace.
Exactly. And it all starts with that simple yet profound decision to see the invisible, to trust in God's promises even when we can't see the outcome, to fix our eyes on the eternal reward, and to live as citizens of heaven even while we're here on earth.
It's a perspective shift,
Yes.
a way of viewing the world through the lens of faith, recognizing that there's more to life than what meets the eye.
Right.
And as we do that, we join that cloud of witnesses inspiring others to run their races with perseverance, fueled by the hope of the unseen.
It's a beautiful legacy to leave behind. And with that, we come to the end of our deep dive into his message on seeing the invisible.
We hope this conversation has sparked some reflection for you, too.
Yeah.
What stood out to you from his message? What resonated with you the most?
Yeah.
We'd love to hear your thoughts.
And if you'd like to explore his message in more depth,
you can watch the full sermon on Flame Community Church's Facebook or their website.
God bless.
And see you next week.
Yeah.
It really is a challenge to live out these principles.
Yeah.
To keep that eternal perspective in the midst of our everyday lives.
Yeah.
But that's what makes the message so powerful.
Right.
It's not just about abstract ideas, but about real practical ways to live out our faith.
Absolutely. It's about making choices every day
Right.
that reflect our belief in the unseen, in the power of God's promises, and in the reality of heaven.
Yeah.
And those choices, as he highlighted, can have a ripple effect, inspiring those around us to do the same.
I love that image of the ripple effect. You know, it reminds me of something he said towards the end of his message.
Right.
He talked about how this life is temporary,
Mm.
but the rewards of faith are eternal.
Right.
It's like planting seeds that will continue to bear fruit long after we're gone.
What's fascinating about that is how it ties back to the cloud of witnesses concept.
Right.
We're not just running this race for ourselves. We're part of something much bigger, something that transcends time and space. And our actions, our choices to live by faith, become part of that legacy, encouraging future generations to run their own races with perseverance.
It's a powerful reminder that even seemingly small acts of faith can have a lasting impact.
Right.
So as you go about your week,
Yeah.
we encourage you to keep his message in mind.
Yeah.
Look for those invisible moments, those whispers of God's guidance, the unexpected acts of kindness, the glimpses of hope that break through the darkness.
And remember, you are surrounded by that cloud of witnesses cheering you on as you run your race with perseverance.
Right.
Fixing your eyes on Jesus,
Yeah.
the author and perfecter of our faith.
If you'd like to explore his message in more depth, you can watch the full sermon on Flame Community Church's Facebook, YouTube, or website.
God bless.
And see you next week.